So recently, I went to Art of Scent in Shangri-La Plaza Mall, and I tried these new fragrances by OJAR. OJAR is a fairly new perfume brand. I tried six of them, which is what they had readily available to test over there. Those would be Cirrus Leather, Red Redemption, Eagle-Eyed Stranger, Ruta, Nomad, Forgiven Outrage, and Cielder Raj. If you want to know what I think about those fragrances, which happen to be not the fragrances that were singled out by Sebastian, the perfume guy. If you want to find out more about what I think about Ojar, then please stay. First, what I have to tell you is that what I tried were the Atars. Not that they call them Atars, they call them perfume absolutes, and they're in these really inventive bottles. Because the bottles, you could use them as a roll-on or as a kind of a tar, because when you twist the cap, there are two ways to twist the cap. If you twist it one way, then you would get the tiny glass rod, and you could apply the perfume that way. Or you could twist another part of the cap, and what you get is a roller ball. So it's a very inventive bottle. Even though um, I don't particularly like the bottle. I think the bottles look cheap. They really do remind me of deodorants, and the blue that they used is not particularly an expensive looking blue. Well, at least not in the light in which I saw them. Um, now, so onto the fragrances. Eagle Eyed Stranger is practically just a dupe for Oud for Greatness. In fact, when the sales associate did mention that it smells like Oud for Greatness, and as such, it's become a popular scent. So if you have Oud for Greatness, I don't think there's any reason to get Eagle Eyed Stranger. You'd end up getting disappointed. But if you've never tried Oud for Greatness, then it's certainly something to try. Even though, well, the pricing of Ojar is about 220 USD for 20 mil, and because there already is what people have said is a good dupe for Oud for Greatness. I've not tried it. It's called Oud for Glory. I've never tried Oud for Glory. I've never tried the dupe. Um, but I'm almost convinced that the dupe really did get the scent profile of Oud for Greatness, because some people have also said that Oud for Greatness doesn't really have the real Oud, so it might be easy to copy. So Eagle Eyed Stranger is not something that I found. It wasn't original, and I didn't give it much time. Another scent that they have called Red Redemption. It also smells like Oud for Greatness, but with the rose amped up. So again, it's not something that I spent a great deal of time on um, studying or experiencing. After Oud for Greatness, then anything else that smells like it practically becomes kind of, well, smelled that before. Now, Cirrus Leather is initially it was interesting, but eventually I thought that it was too dominated by Frisia. If you like Frisia, that floral note, then it would be something very quite worth your time to check out. Um, at the same time, I don't think it was like particularly special. Uh, it felt almost underdone. It was a bit too simple to me, and the I wasn't getting a strong dose of leather anyway. I wish I had spent more time uh, kind of like experiencing the fragrance if it changes. Very probably it's nonlinear, but because of the Frisia dominance, I just didn't want to spend more time with it, because the Frisia at the top note just made it a no for me. Now, Forgiven Outrage. If you're looking for something that is extremely different from what's out there, I really would encourage you to test Forgiven Outrage, because I've never smelled anything like it. It almost comes off as strange as the fragrances that are put out by Lush. It has that kind of like quality, kind of like strange and interesting. Totally not. It's I wouldn't call it at all as mass appealing. If that floats your boat, then yes, do try to sniff Forgiven Outrage. I will go back to Art of Scent to test it again because it really is that interesting. So I will test it again. I'll just go back to that store and see if it's something that I might want. But during that afternoon that I tried the six fragrances, the two that stood out to me were Ruta Nomad and Cielder Raj. So first, let's go to Ruta Nomad. The notes for Ruta Nomad are cypress, ginger, cardamom for the mid, ilang ilang, vetiver, cinnamon leaf rather than cinnamon, which is interesting. And for the base, you have patchouli, incense, and leather. Did I get a strong leather? No, I didn't. In fact, it's really quite well blended. My only problem with it is that after, so I applied a good dose on my right forearm, and I went off to go to a cafe and had much too much cake. And after an hour, Ruta Namad wasn't. It became dull. So at the start, it was really exciting. This is something I thought. And then after an hour, it came off as like it was present. It was present. It had presence, but it didn't have as much character after an hour. So it became something that was almost quite forgettable, and certainly not worth the price tag. The bottle that I almost got that very same afternoon was Cielder Raj. Cielder Raj is French for stormy sky, and I really am quite liking it. Um, a part of that scent, in fact, stuck to my shirt, and I was smelling the shirt the next day, and I still like it. I still like it. The top notes for Cielder Raj are Artemisia, saffron for the mid. There's pine, there's rose, patchouli, vetiver, and guayac wood. And guayac wood is another name for Palo Santo. So if you like Palo Santo, that's something to check out, perhaps. And for the base, there's suede, which I love, sandalwood, styrax, and agarwood. I think that it does have real oud, but it's Cambodian, probably, very probably Cambodian oud. It's not skanky at all. In fact, it comes off. Ciel de Raj comes off as really clean, and because I'm doing this video in December, and over here because it's a tropical country, the daytime temperature still goes up to 31 degrees centigrade, so you could still sweat. But Ciel de Raj seems to me very summer friendly. It's very, yeah. I think it's even wearable in high heat. I don't think I'd have a problem wearing it in the height of summer because that's what I'm looking. I'm out in the market right now looking for an upscale summer scent because I have a couple of good mid-range and inexpensive freshies. Not that Ciel de Raj is a freshie. It's something else. It's a notch above a summer freshie, but it is, I think, very high heat friendly um, fragrance, and so I am seriously considering getting a full bottle. Well, the full bottle is just 20 mil for 220 USD. Um, or I don't know if 210 or 220 USD. It's 10,500 pesos, which is very close to the pricing if you get it in Europe. Now, my misgivings about OJAR, number one, the bottle doesn't really look that great. Does it matter so much when I'm paying that much money for 20 ml? I would have wanted, I would have been happy to experience the fragrance with a beautiful bottle. But it's the bottles, of course, are of very secondary, a far secondary experience to the scent itself. Now, my problem with OJAR is that I'm not entirely convinced that the materials that they're using are really high quality. Now, they claim to use Omani incense, but if you've experienced the incense that you get from Amouage, actually Amouage is the niche house that made me I didn't used to like incense until I experienced incense from Amouage fragrances. Now they claim to have Omani incense, but Ruta Nomad, which is supposed to have incense from Oman, doesn't really smell like the incense that I get from Amouage. And when I think about it, there's something about the ingredients that really reminds me of the same ingredients that are used in the affordable niche house Mancera. Obviously, I don't have a problem with Mancera. I think that some of they're all synthetic, but at the same time, the ones I have, I'm really quite happy with. So I don't have a problem with synthetics. I just have a problem with paying that much money for ingredients that I in fact perceive as not very high. Um, at the same time, at the same time, if the dupe houses like Latafa or whatever other dupe house, if a dupe house never releases something that smells like Cielder Raj, then I just might spend on a full bottle of Cielder Raj. I do like it, so I'll wait and see. Because with these things, like, give it a bit of time, and the dupe houses will come up with something. Not that I'm into dupes. I don't foresee myself as somebody who ends up having a collection that's focused on dupes. But if a niche house is using the same materials to my nose as what the dupe houses use, then of course they're not going to get my patronage. So there you go. If you found this video helpful, I hope you did. Please subscribe and hit that notification bell and give it a like. And if I never see you again, have a Merry Christmas and have a great year.